guys, it's Michelle from Scrap Secrets and welcome to another crafty video. So this video is going to be all about turnabouts. We are going to be using the mini turnabout jig. We're also going to be using the faceted turnabout stencil set, and we're going to be making two backgrounds. So the first one I did was this one here, and this is the mini spirograph stamp set. This is the free gift with $60 purchase from Concord and Knife. Now next month I believe they will have this for sale, and I love the way this turned out. Here are the four colors that I use. I use 3 Hero Arts colors. It is Soft Sky, Dusty Blue, Cornflower, and then I use 1 MFT and Night Shift Blue. And I think that if I had to do it over again, I would probably do a more medium tone blue because that last color really stands out in this. But I think I'm actually going to do a different color palette when we do it in this video. So this is the stamp set, like I said, we're going to use. So I cut a piece of paper down to, I believe it is 3 by 4 1/4, but let me just measure it. 4 1/4. Yes, 3 by 4 1/4. So we're going to do this with the jig. It's going to be so simple. This one was really simple to do. The large one, I had a little bit more difficult time with it. I did this one here. So this is the alignment guide. Let me see if I can do this for you guys. So if you see this alignment guide, see how the bottle of ink here is empty? There's actually a little ink, the word ink down here, and the bottle is empty here. That ink will actually, when you turn it, will actually stamp right in the middle of the ink bottle. But if you don't line it up perfectly, it won't. And then this is thread, and then this is the spool here, so that actually stamps in there. So I'll show you guys that one. This is actually it, and it was okay, but I had to keep adjusting it. I kind of just looked at the spool of thread, and you can see some of them are not as accurate as, like that one's pretty much accurate, and then what's cool is the thread goes through the needle. So I think I'm going to use this color palette for the spirograph, and then the other thing we're going to work on is the faceted turnabout stencil. So amazing. I love the way this one came out. This is probably my favorite thing. You know, I've told you guys I love turnabout stamp sets. The stencils, even better. These are with 4 different colors of Distress Oxides, and we're going to ink this up again. We're going to do the same exact colors in this. I'm making a card for my cousin's baby shower, and I just thought this would be really pretty. The colors for her baby shower are pink, but I thought I'd add some purple in there. And I was even questioning the darkest color, but I think that it gives it that pop that it needs because the other colors are pretty much subtle. So we're going to ink that one up. And this piece of paper, if you want to follow along, is 5 1/4, and then it doesn't really matter how long it is, but it is 8 1/2. So I just cut it down to that, and then we'll cut it down to the card front size when we're going to, when I make the card. So let's start off first with this Stamp Perfect tool. Now again, you can use a mini Misty, you can use the Tim Holtz stamp positioner. You can use the Stamp Perfect. Any kind of stamp positioner will work with this. So all you have to do is pick a corner, and I just picked this corner so that you guys can see it, and I'm going to be doing this upside down. So please forgive me if it's not 100% correct. One of the things that they did in the kit, if you got the kit that goes along with this, is repositionable tape. I thought that, you know, using the Zig 2A glue pen, if you see this, the tip is white here, which means that the glue at this point has basically run out and this is repositionable. Basically thought that it was the same thing. It does, because this is a slick surface, it tends to slide around on it, but we're going to try it anyway. With this one, it doesn't matter as much as it would on this one. So okay, so now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put this to the side, and we're going to take the alignment guide. So this is it here. Let me see if you guys can see this. This is the alignment guide. Starting in February, all of the turnabout stamp sets will come with alignment guides already. Real quickly, I will show you guys. This is the pack that I bought for $4 from Concord and Knife, and it has every single alignment guide from the beginning of the turnabout stamp sets up through January's release in there. So I'm pretty sure it's through January. I don't think January's were included with that. But It's so simple to use. Okay, so it says on here, this side up. I don't know, you guys probably can't see that. But what I do is I just kind of line this up, and I'm gonna need to look at it, look right over it. Just make sure that your stamp is lined up perfectly with, there we go, with this guide. Super, super easy to do. A lot easier than doing the back of the packages like we used to do. Then there's a perforated line on here, so you can see it on the back. Now, in the Misty, I did have to take my paper out that was in there because I just felt like it was too difficult to see the X on it because there's a grid line already, so you just have to make sure that the X lines up on all 4 sides, and it takes, you know, a couple seconds to line everything up, right? So just take your time though, just make sure everything's lined up. Then what you want to do is carefully take the lid and place on here. Now, most likely the alignment guide is going to come up with it. That's fine. You're done with the alignment guide for right now. It's all you had to do. So now you're going to take your paper with the repositionable adhesive on the back of it, and you're going to line it up as best you can centered. Again, that may be where I went wrong with my paper, with the ones you have to be perfect with. I may have not centered it upright. They're on the large jig. Let me show you guys real quickly. Let's see if you can see this. There are lines here. There's little like L's that make the corners, but I find that they don't line up exactly with the size paper that I had, so I don't know. That could have been it too. This is not... Hold on one second. Let me pull this up because it's hard for me to make sure it's centered. And you can always draw lines on here. You can draw lines on your paper. I just decided that I'm gonna kind of wing it because this one is a little bit more forgiving, like I said. Now I'm going to start with the one in the top corner. You can start with whatever number anywhere you want. You just have to make sure you rotate in the same direction. So I am going to be using the same 4 colors that I used for the larger Turnabout stamp set: MFT Grape Jelly, Summer Splash, Limeade, and then Hero Arts Midtone and Bubblegum. So I'm just going to pick one color. We're going to ink it up, and we're just going to start stamping. So really, really easy to do. And the nice thing about the Misty is that, you know, your impression, if you don't get a great impression the first time, you can go ahead and restamp it. Perfect. It came out really, really well. So then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to turn it. And now, because I turned it the same way, 2 is going to be on the top. I just want to make sure this is pressed into the corners, because that's the way that it was. I'm going to take my Norwex cloth. I did get a new one because the other one is still upstairs, has to be washed. So I did bring a new cloth downstairs for this, but it works fantastic. I love this. I just keep a spray bottle of water down here, and just spray it. And it stays wet for a while. Okay, the next one, this is the Summer Splash, and we're just going to go over it, and it's going to overlap. So you're going to get 2 tones of colors, like where the blue and the purple overlap. Super pretty. So you can leave it like that, but we're just going to keep going. We're going to go to color number 3. And again, you're gonna know you're right, because color 3 will be in the top corner, the same corner. You always want to make sure that your numbers are going in the right order so that you don't double stamp something. And it'll be easy to tell, because if you go like this and you see that's already stamped, you just turn it back to you turn it the other way. So just something to keep an eye on. Okay, so this one is Limeade, a really pretty green. And again, this one is a little bit more forgiving than the last one, just because it doesn't necessarily have to line up. Like if it overlaps, it looks good. It looks fine. All right, and then the last one is the Hero Arts Bubblegum. I just think these colors are so pretty. They're so bright. They're so spring, which I am so ready for. Even though we're supposed to get horrible, horrible weather this weekend. We are supposed to get snow and flash freezing, which means I'm not going anywhere other than my cousin's baby shower tomorrow. So we're hoping that it doesn't do anything until tomorrow night, just for the sake of my poor aunt who has been planning this for a while. So super, super easy. Now this looks like the spirograph that, you know, I had when I was young. I'm just trying to see. So pretty. All right, and then it easily pops off of this, and if there's ink on the sides, you can wipe that off. If you do a smaller side, like you want the pattern to go off the side. Now you can see, obviously, I didn't line it up totally perfectly because there's more space on this side. I can cut it down. You know, it's fairly easy to do. So that was the small turnabout stamp set. The large one works the same way. Like I said, I just picked the, I just happened to pick a stamp set that is super difficult to line up, and you just have to kind of make sure things are adjusted. And, you know, it's most likely user error because it's me. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put this down here so you guys can see it. I'm going to line it up with the grid on my glass mat, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some tape and I'm going to tape this paper down. At the top, we're obviously not going to use that because that is, the stencil is not as big as the paper, so I'm just putting this on my hand so that I can get the ink off, or get the stick off. You know what, I'm going to do it up like this so you guys can see the bottom. Let's see. I move it a little bit further in screen. Let's see. Is that good? That'll kind of give you halfway. So I'm just going to put some tape at the top just to hold this piece of paper down in place. So you are going to take the turnabout stencil and you're going to pick one corner, whichever corner you want, and pick one corner of the paper. You're going to line that up exactly with the corner of the paper. Okay? And this also is a little bit more forgiving, so if you accidentally don't line it up perfectly and the colors overlap a little bit, it's not a big deal. So what I'm going to do is I want to make sure that I'm not blocking any of the cutouts, because when you turn it, you're going to use a different cutout. It's, you know, that cutout will be on the piece of paper even though it's hanging off right now. So I've lined it up in this corner. So every time that I realign this, every time I turn it, I want to make sure it's lined up in my bottom left-hand corner. If you pick a different corner, you just make sure that's the exact corner that you use. Now we're going to do some Distress ink blending. We're going to use the Distress Oxide Tattered Rose, and this is the second time I've used it. This morning, or earlier was the first time that I used it. And I'm just going to go through and fill in all of the spaces, and it's fairly quick to do. You just kind of make sure everything is done. You can tape down this side too if you want. You can tape down all the sides. One of the tricks that I found was that if I taped the upper, if I did the bottom left-hand corner as my corner to line everything up in, I did the top right-hand corner for the beginning to be like where my number 1 would be. So I would always know that the tape should go here, then it should go at the bottom. So I would follow it around. You can put numbers on your stencil, kind of like your turnabout jigs. You can do that if you'd like. I just kind of figured I didn't want to do that. I kind of just, I would remember that that is where my, where I started, like, and then how I would have to rotate the stencil. I did have to go back. I kind of forgot the first time, but it's really easy if you know what your bottom corner looks like, or if you even just remember which color you lined up first, which color you did first. So I am going from the lightest to the darkest. What you can do is just put your stencil back in there so that it matches up with the lightest color or whatever color you did first, and then just go back until you don't see, just keep turning it till you see white areas. I'll show you what I mean. All right, so this is the Tattered Rose. We're now done with that. And again, you can do 1, 2, 3, or 4 different colors of ink. It doesn't really matter. Like, that looks really, really pretty in itself. I just, after each color, I just kind of, this is a light one, so it doesn't really matter. I just kind of go off to the side and wipe off my stencil so that I don't cross-contaminate colors. Although it doesn't really matter if you do. I've been cleaning this off in between. I don't know why. So now I had this in the top corner. If I forgot and I went like this, all I would have to do is go back to where there's no white spaces. Like, okay, this is where I would go. So then since it was here, I want to turn it so that now the tape is down at the bottom. But I want to make sure that this corner here lines up so this side of the stencil is flush with the side of the paper. And again, these are all going to be able to be inked because the tape is not anywhere near it. So we're going to take Distress Oxide in Worn Lipstick, and we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to ink it up, and we're just going to go over all of these white areas. So you guys kind of get it. This is exactly how it's going to go. And it just comes together so easily and so nicely. It's only going to take about 10-15 minutes to do, depending on you know, the colors that you use, and if you really have to wash your stencil off in between colors. If you're going from a dark color to a light color, just be very aware of that, because that's going to take a little bit more time to make sure that you got all of your color off of, you know, off of the stencil, unless you want them to mix. You know, you can do that. That'll give you a totally different look if you kind of mix your colors. I'd be curious to see how that would look. So, and then up here there'll be, you know, each time you turn, there'll be a huge white spot, because when you go to do your, when you finish it, if you saw what the finished product looked like, there were some white spots in there. So, okay, so this is going to, now we can go up like this. And you see this shifted a little bit, again, because I didn't put it down exactly in the right place. I was just trying to get this, just trying to give you guys an idea of how to get this done. So I may not have lined it up exactly properly. But again, it's not going to, like, for me, that doesn't bother me. It's going to, you know, some of it's going to overlap, and it may look really cool. So, you know what? Let's keep going. Let's try to figure this, you know, let's do at least 3 colors and then see what that looks like. So now if you remember, the tape was down here. This was the pink color. So then we're going to turn it so that the tape is over here. So we're going to make sure that this corner, I'm going to peel the tape up a little bit so that I can make sure that the corner lines up exactly with this, and then the paper is flush against the side of the cardstock. So then we're going to go in with some Shaded Lilac Distress Oxide, and this one is so creamy and so pretty. Like, when this went down, I was like, oh, this is so pretty. This is probably my favorite of all of the colors on these. This one is my favorite. And this is just so easy to do. Anybody could do this. I could do this with my 4-year-old nieces. I think they would love it. One, because they would get inky and get messy. They love making a mess. They love crafting, and especially the little one, the little twin. She loves to get, she would sit there and craft with me for hours. If I just let her, she would craft for hours on end with me, and I love it. But she loves to get messy. She loves to paint, and especially paint. She always says to me every time I come over, "Did you bring a craft?" So I, you know, for Christmas, I got all 3 of the girls. I got them art kits. I got ones that I made. I got those 12 by 12, the boxes that can hold 12 by 12 paper. I got the see-through bins. I got those, and I filled them with a bunch of crafting supplies, so they have crafts that they can do at home, because all 3 of them do love to craft. So you'd say, happy that they all picked up that from me, I think. So there is the 3rd turn, and so now if you were going back this way, you'd notice that you've already done that turn, so it's not that way, it would be this way. And I know I haven't cleaned it, but it's a darker purple, so I don't really mind. So I can line it up like this, and you can see that, you know, it'll line up, so you don't have any color in between too. So if you don't get it lined up perfectly, like this corner isn't lined up perfectly because my stencil shifted a little bit, so I just lined it up so that it'll be offset just a tiny bit. You'll see what I mean. Okay, this last one is Wilted Violet, and this is where the last time I did this I was like, oh, I don't know about this color. I don't know, is it too dark? Is it too not like the other ones? Because the other ones are more pastel, and it turned out that I love this like little pop of purple color, like a deeper purple rather than the pastels that were the other colors. And there you go, I moved my stencil a little bit, but you guys are gonna get the idea. It's not going to be perfect, but then again, these are all handmade things. So handmade is never ever perfect. You can line these up. And it slipped a little bit. I probably should tape it on the other end too. Again, you learn as you go through, but I am really, really loving this. I think this is super creative. Concord and Ninth probably has some of the most innovative stuff. I absolutely love their stuff. So if you guys are interested at all in the Turnabout stamp sets, the Turnabout stencils, go over to Concord and Ninth. And I do not work for them. I just happen to love their products. I think they're awesome and very innovative. They have, like I said, this is the first time they've had a kit. So they have a Turnabout kit that gives you the jig, and it gives you instructions, and it gives you the repositionable tape, which again, I'm pretty sure that I have to get for these kinds of projects. But here you go. This is the other piece. This is the, I'll show you. This is the original, and this is the new piece. So this one looks a little bit more off, but if you actually, I kind of like it because it has a little bit more white, and it gives it a little different interest than this one. The other thing that you can do is, instead of doing 4 layers of ink, you can lay down 1 layer of Versamark and then do a heat embossed. Or you can do paint through it. You can leave 1 layer open. You can trace it with a marker and then color them in with markers. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with this. I think an awesome thing to do would be to use this and run it through your Cuttlebug or your die cutting machine. A lot of times these, if you use the right sandwich, you will get a pretty cool, it'll be a light impression, but you'll get an impression of this on there. How cool would that be to turn it around 4 times and get this as an impression? So maybe I'll have to try that. I'll have to see if I can do that in my die cutting machine. So we'll see if we can do that. Maybe in the Gemini Junior, maybe I can set something up and do that. So maybe that's an experiment for another video. But I think there's so many cool things you can do with this. I really, really hope Concord and Ninth comes out with more of these because they are just so much fun to use. There is a second stencil in the stencil pack. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It does a, oh, here we go. It does a smaller, like here's the one that we did, and then it does a smaller flower, but then there's the words, "Hi there, congrats, and you're amazing," that you can do in it. That part is not a turnabout. Those are just words that are, you know, with the rest of the stencil. They did a small turnabout stencil and then just cleverly used the rest of the space to do 3 greetings on there. So I hope that this video helped you guys with turnabout stamp sets. Like I said, I will work on the larger turnabout jig, and I will have a video when I feel a little bit more comfortable. I'll probably have to start back off with one of the ones that's just a little easier, that doesn't have to line up exactly perfectly, and practice from there and see what I can learn. But I promise I will be back and show you guys some tips and tricks with that. Hope that you like this, and I will see you guys again real soon for another video.